Module will identify the components of the lighting systems equipped on the ATR 72-500 aircraft. The lighting system can be used to adjust light levels inside and outside of the aircraft to allow for greater visibility of instruments and aircraft equipment, as well as to dim lighting as necessary. The lighting system can also be used by the flight crew to convey important information to the passengers by activating cabin indicators. The aircraft is equipped with emergency lighting, which indicates the closest exits, and precautionary measures which should be followed in the event of an emergency. The following objectives will be covered during this module. Identify the interior and exterior lights available to provide illumination for the flight crew and other aircraft in proximity. Describe the controls used by the flight crew to adjust, activate, or extinguish the various lights. Locate the positions of various lights and indicate the purpose of that placement. The ATR 72-500 aircraft is equipped with interior lighting, exterior lighting, cargo compartment lighting, and emergency lighting. Flight deck, cabin sign, emergency, and exterior lighting are controlled from the flight compartment. Cabin, emergency, and rear cargo compartment lighting are controlled from the cabin crew panel. Forward cargo compartment lighting is controlled from the cargo door operating panel. Flight deck lighting includes two dimmable dome lights for general flight deck lighting, spotlights and floodlights for work surfaces and side consoles, instrument and panel lighting, as well as a storm light function, which provides increased brightness of the central panel during adverse weather conditions. Lighting for the glare shield panel, the left instrument panel, and the pedestal is supplied when the DC normal bus is the only power source. The flight compartment light panel contains controls for the dome light, standby compass light, and storm light. The three-position dome switch controls lights directly above the captain and first officer's positions. The dome light can be set to off, dim, or bright. The standby compass light illuminates the standby compass directly below the glare shield. The storm light illuminates two lights below the glare shield. The light panel contains the controls to operate the instrument, display, and panel lights. The instrument selector controls the main instrument panel integral lighting. Rotating the selector clockwise activates and increases lighting intensity. The display knob controls all digital lighting such as the digits on the fuel quantity indicator. Rotating the knob clockwise activates and increases lighting intensity. The panel selector controls glare shield panel lighting, pedestal panel lighting, and overhead panel integral instrument lighting. Rotating the selector clockwise activates and increases lighting intensity. The annunciator light switch controls the intensity of all annunciator lights and flow bars on the overhead panel. The three-position switch allows the flight crew to select test, bright, or dim. Selecting test causes all associated lights to illuminate bright. Selecting the bright or dim positions sets the associated lights to full bright or to dim intensity. The flood knob is used to control the pedestal panel flood lighting. Rotating the selector clockwise activates and increases the lighting intensity. Console and reading lights are provided at the captain and first officer's positions. The console lights illuminate the side panel area, while the reading lights illuminate a spotlight above the pilot's heads. Rotating either console light knob clockwise will activate and increase light intensity. Rotating either reading light knob clockwise will activate and increase spotlight intensity. The minimum cabin light switch controls the minimum amount of cabin lighting when the main battery is the only source of electrical power. Setting the switch to the minimum cabin light position illuminates all cabin lighting on the left-hand side of the aircraft and every other light on the right-hand side of the cabin. The cabin signs light includes cabin signage for the fasten seatbelt, no smoking, and return to seat. The fasten seatbelt and no smoking signs are in the cabin, while the return to seat sign is in the lavatory. Illumination of any sign causes a single chime to sound in the cabin. The no smoking switch is used to illuminate the no smoking signs in the cabin and the no smoking light on the memo panel. A single chime sounds when the switch is initially in the no smoking position. Setting the switch to the off position extinguishes the associated signs and the no smoking light on the memo panel. The seatbelts switch is used to illuminate the fasten seatbelt signs in the cabin, the return to seat sign in the lavatory, and the seatbelts light on the memo panel. A single chime sounds in the cabin when the switch is placed in the seatbelts position. Setting the switch to the off position extinguishes the fasten seatbelt signs, the return to seat sign, and the seatbelts light on the memo panel. Emergency lighting consists of ceiling emergency lights, emergency exit lights, evacuation path markings, and exterior emergency lights. A lavatory light illuminates any time the lavatory door is locked. Photoluminescent emergency evacuation path markings are provided for guidance to an emergency exit. The emergency evacuation path markings are powered by the DC standby bus via a voltage divider and 6-volt integral batteries charged from the DC standby bus. When the system activates, the DC standby bus provides power to the lights. The batteries automatically provide the power source if the DC standby bus fails and have a 10-minute capacity. During flight, with the DC standby bus as the only power source, the only flight deck lighting available is the right-hand dome light, 3 lights below the left-hand side of the glare shield, and an overhead panel light which provides lighting to the pedestal. The emergency exit light selector is used to control the emergency lighting system. Placing the selector to on illuminates the system. In the arm position, the emergency lighting system illuminates any time the DC emergency bus voltage drops below 18 volts or both generators are failed. The lights extinguish when the DC emergency bus voltage increases above 20 volts and at least one generator is running. The disarm position disables the emergency light system. Disarm is normally selected after the engines are shut down, and the disarm light illuminates any time the emergency lighting system is disarmed. Normal cabin lighting consists of 2 fluorescent light strips, while the rear cargo compartment incorporates separate lighting. The lighting for these systems is controlled from the cabin crew panel. A switch on the cargo door operating panel controls lighting in the forward cargo bay. A switch located at the right side of the rear entry door, as well as a switch at the entrance to the flight deck, illuminates the flight deck and emergency exit lights for 2 minutes. The cabin crew panel allows cabin personnel to select various lights within the cabin and rear cargo compartment. Click on the switches above to read a description for each switch. Exterior lighting consists of beacon lights, navigation lights, strobe lights, logo lights, taxi, takeoff lights, landing lights, and wing lights. Exterior lighting is controlled by switches on the exterior light panel. 2 beacon lights are installed on the aircraft, one on top of the vertical stabilizer, while the other beacon is installed on the lower fuselage area. Both lights flash when illuminated and are controlled by the beacon switch on the exterior light panel. Setting the beacon switch to the beacon position illuminates both lights. The off position extinguishes both lights. Navigation lights are installed on each wingtip and the rear tail cone of the aircraft. When illuminated, each light provides steady illumination to alert other aircraft in the vicinity and identify relative direction of the flight. The wingtip lights include a green light on the right wing and a red light on the left wing, covering a 110-degree sweep. A white light is located on the tail cone, which covers a 140-degree sweep. The navigation lights are controlled by the navigation switch on the exterior light panel. Selecting the navigation position illuminates all 3 navigation lights and the ice evidence probe light. Selecting the off position extinguishes these lights. White strobe lights are installed on each wingtip and the tail cone. When illuminated, the lights flash to act as a supplemental identification light to other aircraft in the vicinity. The strobe lights are controlled by the strobe switch on the exterior light panel. Selecting the strobe position illuminates the strobe lights. Selecting the off position extinguishes the lights. 2 logo lights are installed on each side of the lower horizontal stabilizer surface. The lights illuminate the company logo on both sides of the vertical stabilizer. The logo lights are controlled by the logo light switch on the exterior light panel. Selecting the logo position illuminates the logo lights. Selecting the off position extinguishes the lights. Taxi and takeoff lights are installed on each side of the nose landing gear leg. Both lights illuminate a steady beam forward of the aircraft. The taxi and takeoff switch controls the operation of these lights. Setting the switch to the taxi and takeoff position illuminates both lights, while selecting the off position extinguishes both lights. The taxi and takeoff lights are extinguished when the landing gear control lever is in the up position, regardless of switch position. 2 landing lights are installed in the forward main landing gear fairing bay. One landing light is installed on the left-hand side of the fuselage, while the other light is on the right-hand side of the fuselage. The landing lights are controlled by 2 land switches on the exterior light panel. The switch labeled left controls the left landing light, while the switch labeled right controls the right landing light. Selecting the land switch to the on position illuminates the respective landing light, while selecting off extinguishes the respective light. 2 wing lights are installed on each side of the forward fuselage. These lights illuminate the leading edge of each wing and engine air intake, so the flight crew can visually inspect these areas for ice accumulation. The wing switch on the exterior light panel controls the operation of these lights. Selecting the wing position illuminates both wing lights, while selecting the off position extinguishes them. In summary, this module identified the lights which comprise the lighting system on the ATR 72-500 aircraft. The interior and exterior lights were described, as well as the controls available to the flight crew to make necessary adjustments to light illumination and brightness. The positions and placements of various external lights were shown, and the purposes for each light's placement was described. This module also showed the emergency lighting, which directs passengers to the nearest exits while providing light in case of an emergency situation. Next, let's answer some questions.